joining me today. How is everybody? We're going to be reviewing 90 Day Fiance the other way, and this is going to be season 4. I don't think I've done 90 Day the other way at all. I've done other 90 Day franchise episodes, but not this particular one, and this is going to be very, very good. So this is going to be brought to you from an urban Native American perspective, a mixed perspective, and a secular perspective. So if this is your first time joining in, I talk about trash reality TV shows. I talk about Native American fashion, crafting, stuff like that. I have all types of videos. You can look into my catalog. I also have playlists. Um, uh-oh. Okay, sorry about that little interruption there. So if you guys like the video, please don't hesitate to give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe, tell your friends, share the video. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with Chris, and she's 40 from Alabama. She's married with 2 kids, and she's been married twice. It seems to be a little bit latent in her discovery of her sexuality, or at least, to the extent of being out and open about it. She's from a very conservative Bible Belt town in Alabama. Listen, God bless anybody who lives down south, who's like, it doesn't even have to be just down south, but like in areas where you cannot just be free to be yourself. Oh God, I can't imagine it. Anyway, so she has been communicating with a woman named Jamie in Bogota. Is it Bogota? Is it? I never know how to say, is that Bogota or Bogota? Anyway, we'll use the English word for the English pronunciation. Bogota, Colombia. They've been communicating for 1 year, and they've had mainly a phone relationship, and they've never met one another in person. And it's just, at least, Jamie, she's out. She's very, she's comfortable. I guess she was later coming out. But, Chris, she's not even like fully out, and she's never even had a full relationship. So she's going to go from meeting this woman online to like marrying her, and she's never even been in a relationship with a woman before. Like, girl, you got to get your training wheels first. You don't just like dive right on into the deep end of the pool. And Chris's mom, she has her mom's support and everything like that. But I was like, what's going on here? She's talking about how she, has some health issues and stuff, which we'll get into a little bit later on. But yeah, she plans on marrying this woman 9 days. 9 days after getting off of the plane in Bogota. Okay? All right. So now let's go over to Danielle. That's the next person we have. And Danielle, now if you guys watched 90 Day, what's it called? Love in Paradise. And it just went off like 2 weeks ago. And she was on that one. And she was like this woman from New York. She went to, she learned how to speak Spanish. She she went down to the Dominican Republic, and on her vacation, she met Johan. Johan is younger than her. I forget how young Johan is. Let me see if I have this written down anywhere. Johan, 32. So anyway, if you guys saw the Love in Paradise, Johan is from, it's humble beginnings. That's being generous. He has kind of a large family. They seem to love one another immensely. They seem to support one another. But, she's coming from New York, single woman, being able to do what she wants and having her money. And he's coming from, I would say borderline, if not poverty, right? And he's a physical, what is it? A physical trainer, I guess. Now, they met one another when she was taking some kind of like classes or something at the hotel or resort she was staying at. And they call them, what is it? A sanky panky or something like that, supposed to mean, I guess it's like a Dominican term for like, somebody who works in the hotels and stuff and like meets American women that way. Now, listen, we can all say what we want to say about this kind of situation, but I have lived in Dominican neighborhoods in New York City. All right. I mean, I definitely have learned a great deal about the Dominican culture through very good friends of mine, close friends of mine, and stuff like that. So, it's interesting. My perspective as someone who's lived within a population or community that has a large Dominican population, but yet still, I mean, I'm not Dominican, right? I didn't grow up Dominican or anything like that. And I'm just kind of looking at it. I can kind of see both perspectives because he's this person of color and he's dealing with language and stuff like that, and he wants to obviously improve his station in life. Now listen, I do think he is into her. I mean, even with the age difference and stuff like that. Listen, just let's keep it real. Let's just be honest. Sometimes we can go play. Okay, I'll give you an example. Okay, I am not a 10. I am nobody's 10, all right? But you know what? There's some places, little pockets in the earth, little cities I could go to where, I could maybe be like an 8. You know what I mean? And, when you go down to some of these places and you got that American passport, honey, and you speak just enough Spanish to get by, you might be a 9 or a 10. So I think, it's a combination of different things why he's into her, but I don't think it's a complete, like there's no physical chemistry. I don't think that. I think they do have a physical chemistry. The height difference is just astounding with these two. I mean, he's I believe she said in Love in Paradise, he's 6'8", if I'm not mistaken. And she never said her height, but I mean, she looks like she's barely 5 feet. I mean, did you guys see, like, when she was on the beach? I mean, it's there is that huge contrast, but she's very, very, very short, and he's very, very, very tall. So one's black, one's white. You got the age difference, the language difference. This is like a whole complete thing. And she's sitting there with her girlfriends and telling them about her trip, and we'll get a little bit into that a little bit later. But I mean, she works. I mean, she's a history teacher, a high school history teacher, and she also teaches yoga, and she's very much into her I don't know, some I don't remember the name of it. It's an African spiritual religion. So she has all these different things going on, and he comes from an evangelical Dominican family. Oh my god, this is going to be very good. So now we have Rishi, and Rishi is 32, and he's from Jaipur, India. Now, the first thing I can tell you about Mr. Rishi, honey, is he loves his hair. He is a hair queen. He was over there, honey, in that village, washing that hair in that little spigot. Like, hooked up to the side of the house. I said, "Oh my god!" And he was doing his coconut treatment and this treatment and that treatment. He was listen. He really loves himself. All right, we got to talk about him. So he's a fitness model as well as a what do you call these guys? Personal trainer. I don't know why I can't say personal trainer today, but he's a personal trainer, and he it's so strange because I mean he got a degree, and then he furthered on and got his law degree, and then he started to practice. He was a practicing attorney, and it's like, you quit that to become a fitness model? Like, first of all, his hair is thinning. How long is this career gonna last? I mean, because it seems like a lot of his look is partly, because of his hair. It's not all because of his hair. He does work on his body. His body is in excellent shape. But I mean, that's not gonna sustain you. Like, who does that? That's like backwards. Like, maybe you become like a senior citizen, like a over 60s, like a gray hair model or something like that. That's real cool, right? When you finish, you're retired, you had your career and everything. I was just like, he quit. I can only imagine what his Indian parents are saying about that. But he thinks he's the Indian Jesus, honey, and you can't tell him anything else. So he is with, or he is met up with, what's her name? Oh Lord, I can't even find her name. Oh my goodness, I'm blanking out what the woman's name is that he met. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I forgot. But anyway, she's American and she's from Oklahoma. And Jen, sorry, her name is Jen, and she's 46. She's from Oklahoma, originally from Louisiana. And she lives on a ranch with her family, and she met him on a vacation. And she said that she was like totally not into him when she first met him. But then she was just like, he showed her his modeling pictures and stuff like that. And then she was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can kind of see something in him or whatever. And she started to fall for him, and they started dating. Now, this is another 14-year age gap. And especially in these Indian societies where there's a lot of emphasis on families being heavily involved with marriages and expectations for children and things like that. Just, I mean, just based off of what we've seen and friends of mine that I grew up with as well and their parents. I mean, I've just kind of noticed that, and it's like very tight knit, right? So I'm wondering if we're going to have like another not to the extreme, but maybe like kind of like a Submit and Jenny kind of situation where the family's like, we're not having this. She's too old and blah, 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 blah. And, Jen, she basically they were dating, and then she was supposed to so basically she had to come back to the United States, and then because of COVID she got stuck for 2 years. That's what it was. She was stuck for 2 years. So then they were communicating back and forth during that time, but his communication was very lacking, shall we say. And he just doesn't seem like he could be into anybody as much as he is into himself, honey. Okay, so let's go over to the next person is Gabriel. And Gabriel is 32. He's from Margate, Florida. And he is a underwear maker. Let me correct myself. He is a prosthetic underwear maker, and he has his own company. It's very impressive because he's quite young. I mean, he looks young. He's also a petite guy too, so maybe it's kind of hard for me to read his age, but he looks pretty young to me. And he has a sister, and he's Afro Latino, and talking to this woman named Isabel, right? Is that her name, Isabel? Yes, Isabel. And she's from where is she from? Somewhere in Colombia, but anyway, she's originally from Venezuela. And now he's trans, and he revealed this to us a little bit later on, and kind of like after he's making the underwear, which because at first I was like, why is he making this prosthetic underwear? Is this for people who've had injuries, or like I'm not really sure. But then it was like it started to make sense. Oh, okay, that's very smart, I guess. And listen, if it's a market and you can find somebody to buy your stuff, get your money. That's my philosophy. So he apparently has had both top and bottom surgery. So I'm wondering what financed this. And the reason I ask that is because I know he's doing his business, but was he doing the business for like a few years, and then he became successful with his business and then was able to get the surgery? Or was he always having, because that's not a cheap, I don't know, like bottom surgery. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know like if that's considered cosmetic, like is that like something that insurance pays for? Because if it's not like what I'm thinking, then I would think that that could be very expensive. And if it is, then I mean, how could he afford that, right? So, who knows? Maybe it's a low cost of living in his little town. I've never even heard of Margate before. So, who knows? But anyway, he met her when he went to Colombia to talk with like one of his factories, or one of the people that help make the prosthetics or stuff, something like that, something to do with his business, one of his vendors or something. And he meets her, and then they have a whirlwind romance and everything like that. But here's the thing: he didn't tell her until after like maybe their second date or so that he was trans, and then had a really good relationship with the family. And then next thing you know, it's like, okay, the family has fallen in love with him, but the family doesn't know he's trans. And her family, from what I understand, is more conservative, and or she's nervous about how the family's going to take the news and stuff like that, and I'm a little bit nervous about it too. Now, now the red flags with our fair Gabby, or no, oh sorry, no, should I say Gabe? Oh, because sorry, not to misgender, because there was a picture. I remember there was a scene where there was the name Gabby written across the screen, but I think that was referring to his childhood identity. So anyway, Gabe, let's stick with Gabe. So the red flag to me was with his sister. So when his sister, he goes to go get a tattoo, and he's getting Isabel's name written on his arm. He's never lived with the woman or anything like that. I'm like, oh my god, it's too soon for all of this, right? But he's going to go move down there. So apparently he has another tattoo of another woman's name on the back of his neck. And like his sister is like, okay, how many times are you gonna do this? And like, are you sure? Like, it's interesting when we have the family's perspective because they always let us know when their family members are basically a mess, right? It's kind of the same thing on Married at First Sight. You have that one guy, his cousin is just like basically being like, what are you doing this show for, right? So um the way the sister was talking to him, yes, that is a way that only a sibling can kind of get, like, kind of snatch you up and kind of get you together a little bit, right? But still at the same time it was revealing, like, okay, I think Gabe was the type of guy just to kind of like go on a whim for a lot of different things. And who knows if this is going to work. I mean, this doesn't seem to be very thought out. It just seems like he kind of likes to have a good time and just kind of go with his heart. She's like, you were moving these women into our mother's house and stuff like that. It's a little bit much. It's given like, the U-Haul kind of moving in with the cats, before you transition kind of situation. But I do appreciate, one thing I have to say about Gabe though is that I do appreciate, I'm a member of the community. Okay. So I'm not a stranger, to people's, coming out stories and transitioning stories. However, I don't, in my, in my personal life, I don't know anybody who is female to male. So this was interesting to get more in-depth um, information because this is a very mainstream show, right? So most people that are watching this show are not part of the LGBTQI plus community, right? So it was very educational, and I think that I kind of like the way some of it was a lot of, it was kind of like so much information that maybe I could have took some of that on, or not me, but some other people maybe could have held out for some of that on the second episode. But either way, it was very it gave you an inside view of what it's like to be, someone living, the trans experience, right? I mean, and we have to admit, this is groundbreaking for TLC because, we are not, we're just now, like, Bravo is doing, what's that show? Love Without Borders. It's the first season, and we have a male gay couple on there, as well as Married at First Sight. Only the Australian, or sorry, not the Australian, but the British version of Married at First Sight. They had gay couples on there as well. But this is still kind of, the United States is still a little bit, with that kind of thing. So I feel, it's a move in the right direction in terms of diversity and stuff like that. But listen, I say all that to say, when you do some stupid stuff, listen, I'm still gonna read you. I don't care what what community you're a part of, because I mean, isn't that the fun? You go on TV, we're gonna talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. So anyway, so next we have Danielle, and let me see, Danielle. Who was Danielle? Oh, right, Danielle's the one in. Who's Danielle? Danielle's the one in the Dominican Republic. So she's meeting up with her girlfriends. Okay, now her girlfriends, I love her girlfriends. Her girlfriends, they need to be on the entire show. Like whenever whenever she signed the contract, she should have made sure that the girls are in there because those women were talking the most basic common sense to her. And what I like about this is that her girlfriends are Latin, all right? So they are schooling her on the culture and certain things like what to expect, and I can just tell just from their accents, I can tell from the accents that more than likely, or they sound as though that they come from the Caribbean, like either from, their accents, I don't know, maybe more than likely probably Puerto Rico or something like that. It's a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans in New York City. That's probably the vast majority of the Latinos there. But anyway, I say all that to say, and also yo hablo español también, so just let you know, like it's a little. I mean, I'm getting a little bit of it, a little bit. It's not my community, but it's just a little bit. I'm understanding. So I like that her girlfriends were maybe Boricua, maybe Puerto Rican, right? And can tell her, like, listen, you get to these pretty islands and you think it's just going to be like, palm trees all day and stuff like that. But this is the culture. This is how it happens and how it works. And you as a city person, like these women are able to kind of help her join that city life and that island life a little bit and kind of give her more of a realistic expectation, but Danielle's her head is completely in the clouds. So I remember on when she was on Love in Paradise a couple of weeks ago, the big thing that she was trying to do was have a baby. Now, the woman is, let me just double check here because I don't want to speak out of turn. She is 42 years old. All right. Now, listen, you can have a baby at 42, but, obviously the chances are much, much slimmer. And you may have to work really hard. And when I mean work hard, I mean like in terms of money as well. And you gotta, it's a whole thing. I mean, they say it's difficult after 35. I mean, trying it after 40, if it hasn't happened already, can be difficult. Now, I think she said that she already has a child. If I'm not mistaken, she has an older child. But that's something that Johan really wants. And that's another thing why I think that perhaps maybe the age difference, yeah, probably ideally he would have somebody his own age, but maybe he's thinking, because she told him on Love After Paradise she's going to have a baby for him. She said, I'm going to do whatever I can. We're really going to try it. And he really wants that. And she was trying to get pregnant on Love in Paradise. I have the acronym in my head, LIP, LIP. That's what they call it sometimes, LIP, Love in Paradise. So I wonder if they're going to be continuing with this part of the storyline, or is it just like BS for the cameras because we know that it's like too hard for her to have a baby or something and she already knows it. I don't know. We'll see. But her friends are like, okay, so what are your plans? Like, I mean, you're just going to be on the beach and like hanging out. I mean, what about work and what about food and shelter? And she was like, I'll just eat mangoes. And she's like, my friends, I know they're concerned, but they're living in the possibilities, and I don't deal in that. And I'm like, oh my God. Now, I understand. I understand from the bottom of my heart what it's like to live in New York City and to be so sick of being bumped into, people stepping on your feet. You get off the subway is late, you're late for work, it's constant, you can't count on this, everything's so expensive. You can pay, $5,000 for the most expensive apartment. Not that I paid that kind of money, but you could, and you still have roaches, and you still have to deal with mice, and you still have to deal with neighbors, and it's like, it's a constant grind. It is an amazing, amazing city, but it can wear you down. And sometimes you just, listen, at her age, she's thinking to myself, okay, I want to retire. A lot of times, a lot of people in New York City don't even have driver's licenses because you can't afford a car. There's no place to park. I mean, you got to move out to the burbs or something like that. It's really, it's a challenging lifestyle. If you're used to it, you're used to it. But sometimes when you're thinking you want to slow down, a lot of people will move to Florida. A lot of New Yorkers do that because they can get property for cheaper and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering, like, maybe why she didn't consider doing that. Why DR? You can still get that real super tropical island feel in certain areas of Florida and then not have to worry about the kind of stuff that she has to worry about now. But, she seems completely, completely unrealistic. And, she's changing. She basically has married a guy who really, really wants to come to the States. So, let's get back to them later because there's more I got to say about that. Okay, so now let's go to Jamie. So Jamie is the Colombian girl. I guess is she originally from? No, Isabel is originally from Venezuela. So Jamie, or you know what? Maybe I mixed that up. I don't know. There's Isabel and there's Jamie, but anyway, Jamie is with Chris and Isabel is with Gabe, but I'm not sure. One of those two girls is originally from Venezuela because there was a lot of, it was the famine and people were really just like desperate to leave Venezuela. It was such a crisis there a few years ago. So I don't know how it is now. But anyway, okay. So when she was talking to Chris ghosted her for 1 month. And during that 1 month period, she met somebody else online. So I guess she said it was a Puerto Rican girl, and I guess she slid into the DMs, honey. I don't know how that worked out, but next thing you know, they were in communique, and this was going on back and forth, and then eventually the woman, the Puerto Rican woman, messaged Chris over in Alabama and told her that, hey, this whole time Jamie's been playing you. You've been giving her money. That time you sent her money because she said she was sick from COVID. She actually wasn't sick. She was just using you and stuff like that. So Chris is over here freaking out, thinking, oh my God, oh my God. But Chris, Chris, her thinking skills, I don't know. I mean, I just like, what is this? Anyway, let's keep going. So Johan. So Johan, we met him. Let's give you a little bit more background on him. He's 32 years old and he's from La Roma, República Dominicana. That is such a tongue twister. Let me tell you guys, I've been speaking Spanish for a long time. I learned when I was younger, but I always had a hard time saying the Dominican Republic in Spanish. It's just like for my tongue, it's a challenge. So anyway, and he's been studying English and stuff like that. He's trying to improve his life. Now here's the thing. This is what I want to say about Johan. So Johan meets this woman in the resort who is old, significantly older than him. Especially looking at wanting to have a child. She's kind of got one foot in, one foot out of that department. And she speaks a different language. She can get by with her Spanish, but she comes from a different culture and stuff like that. And I just feel like if he is genuinely attracted to her, and I see the chemistry. There's no question to that about that in my mind. Here's the thing. He is trying to improve his life. He does not seem like a bad guy. Now, we'll find out if he's got a lot of girlfriends around the island because, honey, like I said, I lived in some neighborhoods in New York. And one thing my friends used to tell me about DR, one thing they used to tell me is that a lot of folks had a lot of, they had a little booze in the island, right? And that's just what I heard. That was all rumor. I never been there. But yeah, I had this one friend. Oh my God, let me tell you about her real quick. So we will not say her name, okay? We were very good friends. And I remember she was dating this guy, and and then one day she tells me, like, because I was asking I'm nosy, right? So I was asking her a lot of questions about this guy. And I was wondering, like, why, they weren't working on, like, settling down and stuff like that together. So come to find out he was married. And I was like, married? I was like, girl, what are you, I mean, I'm not understanding that. Like, but whatever, to each his own. I'm like, maybe him and his wife have an arrangement. You never know people's personal business, but come to find out there was no arrangement. And in fact, the wife was calling her and harassing her at work. Sometimes we'd be at work and the phone would be ringing. So, oh, this woman, she just keeps calling me. She keeps calling me. And it was just like a whole thing. So finally, that the woman stopped calling, but she still continued to date this guy. He would come up to our job, and I would just be looking at him like, oh God. And then she would go back to the DR because she was originally from the DR, and she would be like, she's like, and she'd be getting ready for a trip, and she's like, oh, I can't wait to see my boyfriend. I can't wait. I can't. And I was like, girl, how many boyfriends do you have, right? And she was like, no, this is my true one. This is like the real one. No, you don't get it. You don't. And I was like, okay. She was like, yeah, no, we've been together for a long time. I was like, oh, so it's like an open relationship. She's like, no, it's not like that. I was like, but you don't live in the same state and you see each other like every 4 or 5 years. Like, how does that work? She's like, it's just how it is. You got somebody here, you got somebody there. And, she's just one friend, but guys, I'm just saying it was not an uncommon thing. So when I see Johan, good looking, tall, athletic, right? It's hard for me to imagine that he doesn't have somebody else on that island. That is just hard for me to believe. Not to say that I don't think that he's not attracted to her, but I think, I think maybe there's some other things going on. But anyway, I feel as though as long as he is, that's just my speculation. But if he is being upfront with her and they are actually, in love, they're making plans. I mean, they got married and stuff like that. They just got married like 2 episodes ago on that other show. I mean, so they literally just got married. Then, listen, hey, if you're the one that makes more money in that relationship and, you have more, or you just, not because you work harder or something, but you just come from a different, privileged background, then, I mean, what's wrong with, like, saying, oh, okay, I know you want to leave, because he wants to leave the Dominican Republic. He really wants to go to the United States. And he was very honest about this. So this is where we can't say he's just a scammer. He told her, and you guys will see, if you guys go back and you look at the episode of Love in Paradise, he said to the camera, dead straight and center, all Dominican, and he's making a broad statement because we know it's not all, but he said all Dominicans, they want to go to the United States. All right. So from his perspective, where he's from, and he is from like a pueblito, like a little town, right? And you saw how they were living, you know what I mean? So it's a very humble area. He obviously wants to increase his life. So if you have a wife, you both are decent looking, like you in terms of like, I mean, it doesn't, I'm not saying you have to be beautiful and gorgeous to deserve love or something, but looking at these two, there's chemistry and everything. So why not? You get married, there's an age difference. You roll the dice, you say, hey, we may be able to have kids, we may not be able to have kids, probably not gonna be able to, more than likely. But after a certain amount of time, we move to the States or whatever. He is looking for an advantage, and he told her that. He was very clear, and I don't see anything wrong with him trying to, you will see. And he's like, oh, what's going, what did you just say? And I thought that that was a little bit messed up. The whole family, because on that the Love in Paradise show, they show his entire the Love in Paradise show. They show his entire family. They show Johan's sisters, and I guess those are his sisters, and his mom and everything like that. And they really are looking at her like, hey, everything like that. And they really are looking at her like, hey, I mean, come on, Latin culture is very tight knit family, right? You help your family, so they're looking at her like, come on, all right, I mean, you're part of the family now, so like, you can, with saying it without saying it in so many words, basically help us kind of elevate and get better. So maybe you can just help one niece go to school, to a private school or something like that. I think that she needs to realize that. And she kept saying, like before in the other show, oh, like, I'm so worried that he just wants me for my green card. I mean, I know he loves me, but I'm so worried that he just wants to come to America. Of course he wants to come to America. He's been telling you that from the very beginning. So as far as I'm concerned, Johan, unless Johan does have a little boo thing, like I said, on the other side of the island, then in terms of that part of like him wanting to marry and then eventually move to the United States, yes, I know you're stressed out from New York City. I would not want to move back there either. I have no plans on moving back to New York City. Absolutely none. It is such a headache. But you know what? If if she marries someone from Paradise and they want to come here, obviously they're gonna want to come there. I mean, she just thinks she's gonna live in like some little straw hut and eat coconuts and I don't know, like, I don't know what she thinks she's going to do. It's just ridiculous. There's a lot of poverty on that island, and she has to be realistic about that. So all right, so moving on to Gabe. So Gabe is, let's see, so he is basically, okay, so we already talked about the tattoo on the back of his neck and how his sister was reading him for filth. We covered that. Okay, now Chris. All right, now Chris back in Alabama. So Chris, she tells us about how her house got burned down, and you know what? Oh my God, who? I would not wish that on anybody. It was just very sad. The house was still in disrepair, and it takes a lot to get all that up and going. Now, she has two jobs. She works for a shipping company, as well as she does security as well. So that's her income. But when she goes to Columbia, she will not have any type of income. And she has a rental property, I guess, on the same lot. Or is that still part of the same building? I'm not sure, that she is renting she's obtaining rental income from that. So her mom is like, well, she never bought no ladies around here before, but I mean, only the good Lord will judge. I'm not sure, but she's got like some of her mom's support, but I think it must just be difficult living over there, and in Alabama, like, oh my God, because like even like it looks so small townish too when we saw Gabe when he was like all just down to his skivvies, okay, boo, or oh good, I don't know, just wearing like nothing but a hat and those boxer brief bikini, whatever you call those things or whatever, and just showing it all. Like, you could not do that in a little town in Alabama. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think it's hard for her because she has no support. But then her mom starts talking about, well, what about your narcolepsy? This woman's narcolepsy is so bad. She falls asleep mid sentence. when she's driving, when she's doing, in the middle of dinner, she's falling asleep. That is a dangerous condition. So I don't know if she plans on driving when she gets to Colombia, and if she doesn't, that's going to make her very uh, dependent on what's her name? Is it Isabel or no? On Jamie, I should say. So Jamie, when Jamie gets on the phone with her friends, Jamie, has already got her friends up to speed with like all the drama that was going on with the Puerto Rican girl who I guess lives in Texas or whatever, and how Chris forgave her and stuff like that, but they got to move past it. This is a train wreck. First of all, I'm just gonna say it, Chris. Chris has some decision make. Excuse me. She has some decision making issues. I would say, because when they first opened up the scene with her, she's like, "Yeah, I'm 40, so and so, 40, whatever, but I feel like I'm 20, and I look like it too." And I'm like, "No, you don't." She's wearing like the rainbow stuff, and not rainbow, like the kind of unicorn stuff like that, and just looked a little silly, and it just seemed to be like there is either some arrested development going on or just something. I don't know. The decision making is very poor. I mean, to get to a place where there's going to be 9 days between the tarmac and the nuptials to a woman you've never even met in person is nuts. And that's crazy on Jamie's part too, but Jamie's got a little less to lose because she's there on her home turf. I mean, I don't understand what's up with these people. Like, you got to really think about that a little bit more. But anyway, so yeah, basically Danielle, we leave off with Danielle revealing to Johan, having a little serious sit down with him and telling him that, we're not going to go back to New York. I changed my mind. This is just not what I want to do. And he's like trying to convince her and stuff like that. So I'm wondering how this is going to play out. Like, is he going to hang on in there for that green card, or is he just going to be like, what, I can't do this, I'm done, I find me somebody younger, somebody like another lady at the at the resort, at the hotel or whatever. But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, you guys let me know what you thought about this. I thought this was interesting, but listen, next week, oh my god, did you see the previews for next week? Oh my god, I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh my god. We always gotta have some old ass American lady going over going over to the Middle East, right? It's always like it's just too much, like they're so westernized and stuff like that, and then they get over there and they can't do shit. I can't wait. I can't wait. And that lady next week, she looked old. I mean, she really did. I mean, compared to him, basically, it can also be hard living though too. You never know. But this is going to be something. This is going to be one for the ages. So we haven't seen anything like this since, what's his name, Aladdin, and the other one. Oh my god, this is gonna be a mess. It looks like some of these women, they are not like shrinking wallflowers, so they'll be standing up for themselves. So we'll see how this happens over there. I have no idea, but I'm excited for next week's episode. So anyway, if you guys liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Please share, subscribe. Thank you everybody for that's new, that came on and became a subscriber. I'm trying to put out as much content as I possibly can. I will be back with you guys on Thursday for Married at First Sight, and I'll be back with you on Saturday for Love After Lockup. So right now we're doing 90 Day the Other Way, Married at First Sight, and Love After Lockup. So hopefully you'll join me, and I'll see you soon. So take care, everybody. I'll see you soon. Chippy Salacho.